Nobody warned her. The listing said Maine Coon, 2 years old, needs a quiet home. It did not say 22 pounds. It did not say he would take over her sofa, her desk, and her entire daily routine within 72 hours. And it certainly did not say that 6 months later, what he did on one February night would leave everyone who heard the story completely speechless. Nobody warned her. That was the problem. The listing online said Maine Coon, 2 years old, well-fed, needs a quiet home. It did not say 22 pounds. It did not say he would rearrange her entire life within 72 hours of arriving. And it certainly did not say that 6 months later, she would look back on the day she brought him home as the moment everything quietly changed. His name was Caesar, and from the first hour he walked through her door, it was perfectly clear that he had not come to be adopted. He had come to take over. Rachel was 31, worked in graphic design from a home office in Portland, and had decided after 2 years of deliberating that she was ready for a cat. Not a complicated cat, not a project. She had a comfortable apartment, a good routine, and a very specific idea of what cat ownership would look like. A peaceful animal that slept on the windowsill while she worked, asked for nothing dramatic, and was generally content to exist quietly in the background of her life. She found Caesar on an adoption page on a Wednesday evening. The photo showed a large gray cat sitting on a kitchen counter looking directly at the camera with an expression that she later described to her sister as aggressive neutrality. She thought it was funny. She sent an inquiry. The rescue coordinator responded within the hour. "He's wonderful," the coordinator wrote. "Very healthy, very intelligent. Previous owner had to relocate internationally. Caesar does have a strong personality. He tends to be the one in charge." Rachel assumed this was standard rescue language. She confirmed the pickup for Saturday. She was not prepared. Caesar arrived in a carrier that seemed barely large enough to contain him. When Rachel opened the door, he did not cower, he did not sniff cautiously at the edges of his new environment. He walked out, stood in the center of her living room, and looked around slowly, the way someone looks at a property they are considering purchasing. Then he walked to the sofa, stepped onto it, and sat down in the exact middle. Rachel stood in her hallway holding an empty carrier and said nothing. By the end of the first evening, Caesar had investigated every room, rejected the cat bed she had ordered specifically for him, and relocated his food bowl 3 inches to the left by pushing it with one paw until it reached a position he apparently found more acceptable. Rachel moved the bowl back. He moved it again. She left it where he put it. Some arguments, she was learning quickly, were not worth having with a 22-pound cat who had already made up his mind. "I see you're still here but haven't subscribed yet. That honestly breaks my heart a little. Hit that subscribe button. You are not going to want to miss what comes next." The working from home situation required immediate renegotiation. Caesar's position on remote work was clear from day one. Her desk was his desk. Her chair was his chair when she wasn't in it, and sometimes when she was. He did not sit beside her keyboard the way she had seen cats do in videos. He sat on it, directly and deliberately, with all 22 pounds committed to the action, usually at the precise moment she was in the middle of something that required concentration. She bought a wireless keyboard. He sat on that too. She tried a dedicated cat shelf beside her desk. He used it for exactly 1 afternoon, then returned to the keyboard. The shelf became a place for him to sit and watch her use the keyboard, which he seemed to find more satisfying than sitting on it himself. Her coworkers started appearing in video calls. Caesar appeared in more of them. But here is what Rachel didn't expect. Somewhere inside all of that, the rearranged furniture, the commandeered desk space, the food bowl that lived exactly where Caesar wanted it and nowhere else, something was quietly building. He was not an affectionate cat in the way she had imagined. He didn't climb into her lap uninvited. He didn't purr loudly or need blankets, or do any of the soft, demonstrative things she had associated with cat ownership. What he did instead was stay. He was always in the same room, always within a few feet, always present in that particular Maine Coon way, like a very large gray shadow that had opinions about everything. She stopped noticing the silence she used to come home to. This is the kind of story that deserves to be seen. If something in this is reaching you, you already know why. The moment that changed how Rachel understood him happened on a night in February, 4 months after he arrived. She had been sick for 3 days, the kind of sick that makes the distance between the bed and the kitchen feel unreasonable, where hours pass without any clear sense of how. She had called into work, canceled plans, and spent most of 2 days horizontal on the sofa, watching things she couldn't afterward remember. Caesar, whose routine involved a great deal of purposeful movement throughout the apartment, had spent those same 2 days doing something she had never seen him do before. He stayed within arm's reach of her the entire time, not touching, not making a sound, just positioned, always close enough that she could feel the warmth of him, on the floor beside the sofa, on the armrest above her head, at the foot of the bed when she moved there in the evening. She would wake up in the night and find those amber eyes open in the dark, watching her with an attention she had no good word for. On the third morning, when she finally felt well enough to sit up and make coffee, Caesar walked into the kitchen ahead of her, sat beside his bowl, and looked at her. And then, for the first time in 4 months, he made a sound. A low, short sound, not quite a meow, something quieter than that. Then he looked at the bowl again. She fed him. She stood in her kitchen at 7 a.m., still in yesterday's clothes, and laughed until her eyes watered. He had waited 3 days. He had stayed close and quiet and present for 72 hours without once demanding anything, and the moment she was on her feet again, he led her directly to his food bowl. She called her sister that afternoon. "I think he was taking care of me," she said. Her sister was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Rachel, he was. That's what they do." Caesar was not the cat Rachel planned for. He was louder and heavier and more inconvenient and more present than anything she had imagined when she sent that inquiry on a Wednesday evening. He rearranged her furniture and her schedule and her understanding of what it means to share a space with another creature. But he also stayed close for 3 days in February when she needed someone to, without being asked, without making it about himself, without asking for anything in return until she was ready to give it. That is not a cat who lives in the background. That is a cat who decided, in his own unhurried way, that she was worth paying attention to. If you are thinking about getting a cat and someone tells you a Maine Coon is too much, too demanding, too present, too large, too loud, ask them what too much actually means, because sometimes too much is exactly enough. Is Caesar the boss of the house, or is Rachel? What do you think? Tell me in the comments.